You have joined us at the University of Karate, and we are going into another topic that's going to interest you tremendously. And I trust that as you are listening to these various audios, podcasts, however you look at them, they are benefiting you and maybe even students as they're traveling on this path of studying the martial arts. We're again with Sensei Biddle, and we're doing a part 2 to a series of talks we're dealing with the lost relationship between the master and the student. The lost relationship between the master and student. And last time we were together, we talked about just some of the principles of physical and what would I say? I guess you would say physical. The physical tests or ways in which a master would look for a student. What would he be looking for? What kind of characteristics? What kind of discipline or commitment physically is a master student teacher, I should say, looking for in a student to pass on the knowledge and the teachings of the martial arts? And we studied we looked at a number of different things. Very, very interesting conversation we had with Sensei Biddle. But we want to continue on. We said we were doing this second part of dealing with the lost relationship between the master and student, the idea of character development. Character development. Many people have heard the term Budo in the Japanese martial arts, but all true martial arts have this element of the development of the individual's development, personal development or character development. That unlike today where everything centers around being tough, being a tough guy, fighting, beating someone up, getting a belt or a trophy for having the ability to overcome someone, the ultimate victory is over self, and to have self be as elevated and uplifted as the physical body is in strength. This is the way. And this is a lost concept in today's MMA street fighting world. And it's also a lost understanding even in what is called traditional martial arts. Before I let Sensei Biddle come in, I want to even give a little story. I remember when I was just a teenager and I met Sensei Biddle for the first time, when he used to come to our school at least once a month, because he was kind of over the different schools, and he would come and he would teach. He would have very, very interesting studies. He would talk about things and share things that were very, very revolutionary to our minds. It was mind-blowing, some of the stuff that he both would say and also that he could do. But the thing that I remember the most, that he ended almost every conversation with when it comes to the martial arts and learning and developing, is whatever you do, however you progress, don't be a jerk. He summarized it in 4 things. Don't be a jerk, which for our age and where we were as teenagers, we could grasp that. That was Budo to us. Whatever you're going to do, however you're going to do it, whatever you're about to do, think about, am I being a jerk right now? And that thing stayed with me. And a lot of times things would happen and it could have gone certain ways, but I had to ask myself, am I about to be a jerk right now? Am I kind of taking this in the wrong way? But Sensei Biddle has had some unique experiences because of him studying with master teachers. And I'd like him to share some things, however he wants to share them, about his experience in being a disciple, being a student under a master, and some of the ideas of character development that he was shared and how it affected him and opened his mind to the idea of not just physically developing, but developing who you are as a person and also as a friend, neighbor, citizen. Sensei Biddle, why don't you speak to that?
Yeah, it's sort of opening up the inner doors of the behind the closet, behind the office door, real discussions between the teacher and the disciple, and I'll explain that in a second. But one of my speeches was always, and this is where John's really getting the jerk thing, is I always said, as a martial artist, it's your responsibility to not be a jerk, meaning that you have abilities that most people don't have. So, and people will want to fight you and challenge you, and your responsibility in that is to protect them from themselves. because they don't know, and you can hurt them. So why do you need to hurt them? The only reason people fight is because one wants to prove something over the other. When both want to prove something, then you have a fight. Or criminals, but that's, let's skip that one for a moment, because that one you don't avoid, you do what you have to do. But I learned as I got better and better at martial arts, I realized that I didn't need to prove anything because I already knew. So I could avoid situations that most people would not have avoided. So the ultimate form of self-defense is simple. It's not fighting. That's the end of it. That's the end goal. So with that was sort of where the jerk speech came from. Because as I was learning things, I was being, there's a process, and I'm going to use words, and I'm not trying to be, there's no preaching here or no religious connotation or whatever, but it was a process. And it was a process of purification. Because you were asking your teacher to share his gifts with you. And those gifts have responsibilities. Now, how is he going to want to share them with you? Well, you've got to prove yourself worthy. And that's a real thing. And this is how it worked. It's a very special relationship. And my instructor said to me when he sat down after we've been working for weeks, he says, okay, we're going to enter a new relationship here. I am the teacher and you're the disciple. The word disciple means one who is disciplined. Now, you're going to practice what I ask you to practice, or we are done. That's simple. And in this process, I am going to put you through some exercises of your character. We are going to mold your character. And I will observe this, and we will talk about this every time we meet. And you are going to, if you show the proper results in this, we will continue. If you do not, we are done.
Can I just interject for a second? So, just like someone would say, I'm gonna give you some exercises for your body, and you realize, hey, I can't even do 2 push-ups, or hey, I can't do, I'm out of shape. The same way, he's going to give you exercise to let you see for yourself where you are deficient in character, in worthiness to be entrusted with this style, and give you a reason and also exercise to develop that. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and honestly, this is definitely a peek inside, because this is something that I've never shared. But at the high levels in the martial arts, you become dangerous. Let's face it. Let's be realistic about it. And you're wanting this master to entrust his secrets to you, his things that he developed over his lifetime, or she, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. But it's more than that, because the martial arts is not. It's a way of life, and this is character building. We don't want jerks. It's simple. I'm not going to teach anybody that's a jerk. I had students come into my class, tough guys, blah, blah, blah. They didn't make it through a couple of months because they wanted to come in, I want to learn how to fight. Well, I'm not learning anything. No, you're not, because you're not seeing it. I had one guy came in, he rolled up on a motorcycle, he was in leather, he was a biker, he came in my class, barged in the door and says, who's the sensei? This is a bunch of garbage. And I said, me, I'll tell you what. I said, you and I will fight, we'll spar. And if I beat you, you sign up. So I utterly mopped the floor with him. He signed up. He actually became a brown belt under my, he may have moved on later to become a black belt. I don't know. Things change. So anyways, so here is the peek inside the master-teacher or the teacher-disciple relationship. I had the opportunity to go through this process. As I mentioned, my instructor, we started working together, and he sat me down and he says, okay, now we're going to go to another level now. So he said, here's the principles that we're going to do. It's called purification. So I'm going to give you things that you're going to do. These are not physical exercises. These are mental, emotional exercises. And I'm going to go through them really fast, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but this just gives you an idea of the process. So this happened one of these a week. First one was non-hurting. Don't hurt anybody in any way, any shape, anyhow. But and the idea of these principles is when you went through the day and you said, okay, I'm not going to hurt anybody all day. I'm not going to be verbally abusive. Obviously not going to be physically abusive. How have I hurt anybody? You review that before you go to bed. It's an exercise. Each one of these principles you review at night before you go to bed. Did I do this? Yes, no, yes. Okay, yes, I did. Fine. Don't berate yourself. It's okay. We're not trying to make change here in this moment. You can't. Nobody does that. But it is to make one aware of how you interact with other people and the world. Number two, truthfulness. Don't tell any falsehoods. Do not tell a lie. Do not tell white lies. If someone asks you a question and you feel you have to lie, I am that way to this day. If someone asks me, hey, Bill, what do you think about this? I will say to them, do you actually want to know the answer? People that know me will not ask me if they don't want the answer. Because I am not going to tell them a lie. It's hard, I understand, and I'm not trying to preach this on anybody. I don't care. I'm not trying to tell you that you should do this. What I am telling you is this is what happens at the highest levels between a student and the teacher and the disciple. Make fun of it, doesn't matter. This is what happens. It's fine. I really don't care. Non-stealing. Don't steal from anybody. Don't take credit from somebody. Somebody does a good job at work. Well, I did that, not Fred. That happens all the time. I had a boss at a company I worked for. He gave credit to everybody. He even gave me credit for things that he came up with. He retired as a millionaire. I'm still working. Wow. That's the whole story. Anyway, not important. Non-stealing. Avoid extremes. Don't go too far in one way. Don't go too far the other. Stay down the middle path. That's a simple concept. Review these each day. Go through them and say, did I do this? How did I do this today? How did I do? What did I do to each one of these? This happened one a week. I did this for, 5 weeks. The last one is even harder. So the fifth one was non-possessiveness. Don't try to claim ownership of anything, of a person. This is my wife, my dog, my TV, my car. It's okay to own things. I'm not saying that. That's irrelevant. It's just try not to attach yourself to it because things are things. And nobody owns another person. I don't own my wife. I love my wife. I do not own her. She is a loyal, wonderful partner to me. She is not my wife. Now, she is my wife, but I mean that in the ownership sense. Again, these are principles.
And when something you saying you own them, it reciprocally it owns you. It's not something that can control you, and you don't want to let go of them, even to the detriment of yourself. When you feel like you own something, it can kind of tie you in a way that's not good.
Yes, and let me give you a really interesting example of this. We all say we get a sickness. Let's say we get the disease. I caught a cold, or my kidney disease, my cancer, my whatever. Stop. Don't claim ownership of it. It is not my cold. I don't want it. My mom had cancer, and she said, I'm not calling it my cancer because I don't want it to be controlling of me. I'll leave that there. The last one, number 6, came in 3 steps. It's called non-pride. And try this one time. This is a challenge. I was not allowed to say the word I for 1 hour of every day. So for 7 days, I'd pick 1 hour. Okay, at 2 o'clock, I am not going to use the word I. You have to find a way around it. Now, are you going to do it? Yes, of course you are. That's not the point. The point is understanding what this means. Number 2, the next week, I was not to say the word I for 1 whole day. So I'd pick Tuesday. Tuesday, I'm not going to say the word I. Third, that week, I was not to say the word I at all. Now, my master, he would hate me if I called him master. My teacher would ask me at the end of each week that, how did I do? We discussed this. How did you do on your 1 hour? How did you do on this? And I would have to come up with the answers on that because I had to review this every evening. This was a thing. I took notes. I kept track of it. So during this time, I was learning to apply the principles because I was going to start a rigid training program. This consisted only of doing, in other words, it's the gateway to the process of character building. So that here's the simple reason for it. My teacher wanted to trust me, and that word is a very, very big word. So there's an anecdotal study of Master Kanban Uechi when he got him out of the Shaolin Temple and he was teaching. One of his students killed somebody. He vowed never to teach again, and he left China in disgrace and went back to his hometown to face consequences of things. What was such a big, we'd be like, well, okay, it wasn't me. I didn't kill, that was my student. No, you entrusted your greatest gifts to somebody and they killed somebody. And we have a hard time understanding this as Americans, the cultural concept of saving face or of honor. Losing face. It's not a thing we're acquainted with. So we do not have an appreciation for it. But these principles that I went through was designed so that my teacher was not going to lose face because something he taught me that I misused. He was not going to trust me until I went through this process and he felt comfortable that I was that person to do this with.
It seems as, and I will say something that I think that many people it might cross their mind. Some people may say, some people listen to that list that you just went through and they might have a mocking kind of connotation toward it because it seems like, oh, that's ridiculous and so on and so forth. But how many times when you look at any of the exercises in martial arts that look ridiculous to the uninitiated and they don't really see that what's going on there is through these simple exercises, the teacher is trying to awaken the conscience in the person where they may not know that they make themselves the center of everything. Or I think, or I feel, or well, I do it this way, And again, you could phrase it different ways. But the real gist of it is, do you make your thoughts and your feelings and your ideas and your principles the center of everything? Do you say things that are patently not true? Do you exaggerate? Are you very possessive of things and you don't want to share and be giving to others? Because if you're not conscious and aware of this, if your conscience is not awakened, you can trust that other people see that you are selfish and you are not doing those things. And that's not a person that wants to be a martial arts instructor.
See, this what I went through come across as somebody being religious. And I'm not. It's not. It's absolutely not. It has nothing to do with that. Now, can it be religious? Absolutely. If you are of a certain religion, whatever, you can adopt these principles, and many religions do. That's not the point. That's not, absolutely not what I'm trying to convey here. What I'm trying to convey is moral character or upstanding character to the point where one is entrusted with these teachings and these things so that they're not going to be abused, so you're not going to be a jerk.
I guess you're going right back to the great phrase for the University of Karate. I think that should be our motto and our new logo. I remember speaking with a master instructor who basically said, when I asked him concerning, the idea that masters sometimes can't find a student and they take all that they've learned about the art or even the art itself to the grave. And his voice didn't change at all. He seemed very, very calm and said, well, that sometimes needs to happen. And in my mind, I'm scratching my head like, all that to go to waste and so on and so forth. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And without saying it, he basically, almost like he read my mind, came and said, because it's better for it all to be lost for a season than to be given to someone unworthy that would destroy all that has been given safely from person to person down through the generations and it go into disrepute or become associated with some evil. He said, you don't understand what kind of evil could be unleashed in the world if some of the secrets and principles of these disciplines are all assembled together correctly and given to someone unworthy? What kind of hurt could be unleashed on the people around you that because of what you've learned, you have a responsibility to protect and to be a defender of? And I started to think differently because, again, what he said awakened my conscience to the responsibility of character. People are looking for, in government, in leadership, in homes, fathers, mothers, for people to have character, people to have moral principles that guide what they do.
Character matters.
Say it again.
Character matters.
Character matter. In this time where it seems like everything is turned upside down in our world, as we look back upon the lost relationship between student and teacher, character matters. You are with the University of Karate, and we again are studying the principles and history, many times lost, that needs to be examined in this study of the disciplines that come together to make the martial arts. You're with Sensei Mike Biddle, and again, join us again to have another conversation about the principles of the lost relationship between student and teacher. We'll have a lot more of these conversations, but in the comments below, keep the conversation going. Ask questions, make comments. If you have suggestions about upcoming videos, you may want to see something. Also put that down there, as well as please like and please subscribe. It helps us get more people to watch and be benefited by these videos, and helps us also in making better media. We are at the University of Karate, and we enjoy having you, and we pray that you will continue to watch, like, subscribe to these videos. We'll see you next time.